morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, I need to show you Tera Sylveon EX. Stella Tera Sylveon EX, if you will. And this shouldn't be much of a surprise to you guys, because I told you a while ago that this was coming. Now, we follow this quite a lot, the whole Pokemon news thing, and I'm looking in various places, and we see Japanese listings for products. And I told you about a listing for a Sylveon EX deck in Japan months ago at this point. I believe it was back in early March, so over 4 months ago, I told you we were getting a Sylveon EX deck. I don't share this stuff with you until it's, not confirmed, but incredibly likely. Well, in March it was very likely. Now it's been officially revealed, weirdly, randomly in an advert on the official YouTube channel, which is not generally the way they tend to do things. I'm honestly surprised if it was going to be in an advert, I'm honestly surprised it wasn't properly officially revealed with a whole article on the website this past Friday. That is what I would generally have expected. That isn't what happened, but we still have a rather lovely look at Sylveon EX, and you know what? That's pretty cool. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, hang on a second, Wassy. When you told us about this, didn't you also tell us about a Cerulege X deck, which is coming in Japan? Because I did tell you there were 2 decks that were coming out as a pair. Yes, I did. Well, the good news is we have had a look at Cerulege. The bad news is there's not enough to do anything with. I can tell you it's a fire type. Retreat cost of 2. We know it's got a single fire energy attack. But there really isn't, unfortunately, too much we can do with this. Okay, fine, that's a lie. It really looks like that bottom line is saying discard all energy attached to this Pokemon. But on the Cerulege, the bottom attack. But that's about the best I can do for you right now. But the Sylveon, yeah, we got a pretty good look at the Sylveon. We know what it does. I have done the translation myself, but as always, I have checked with a lovely Antoine Boulet to make sure I've not done anything silly. And what we've got here is a Psychic Pokemon, 270 HP, and we've got free energy, 160, and during your opponent's next turn, the Pokemon that was hit with this attack does 100 less damage. It's fine. But I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. It's free energy. It's only doing 160. And the minus 100 only counts for the Pokemon that was hit by this attack. So that means if your opponent just, switches their active, gutted, frankly, a new one can come in. And remember, if your opponent switches to the bench, but then brings the same Pokemon active, the game will still consider that to be a new Pokemon. So the minus 100 reduction will not count. Yes, we could talk about the fact that you can accelerate energy with Gardevoir, but Gardevoir's got better attackers. And look, the test I always put here is, as an absolute bare minimum, does it KO a Lumineon? And the answer is no. It's the weakest 2-prize Pokemon, which is widely played. And it doesn't. It's 10 damage short. And frankly, if I'm putting free energy on a Stage 1 2-prize Pokemon and it's not KOing Lumineon, I don't care. But the second attack, the second attack is rather spicy. What we've got here is free energy, 1 water, 1 lightning, 1 psychic. Choose 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Your opponent shuffles them into their deck. But it's called Angelite, and if any of your Pokemon used Angelite during your last turn, you can't use this attack. I.e., you cannot use it 2 turns in a row. You've got to have a turn off. 1 turn on, 1 turn off. Every other turn, you can wreck your opponent's bench. The thing is, you choose, which is very, very important. You get a choice of which Pokemon you want here. And remember, whenever you're choosing bench Pokemon to go away, one thing that's always fun is combining it with Gusting. Whether that's something like Boss's Orders, or whether it's something like Countercatcher if you're behind on prizes. If you can pair the 2 of these together, it works beautifully. Because what you do is you bring up a random bench Pokemon that your opponent doesn't need anymore. I mean, if one's been played, Lumineon would actually fit the bill here very nicely indeed. And then choose 2 other Pokemon to get rid of, so your opponent goes down to, well, hopefully no Pokemon in play, but the only Pokemon you've left them with is a support Pokemon they didn't want. This works without Gusting, but it does get a lot better if you combine it with Gusting. So what we really want to do here, rather than just put our opponent down from a 5 Pokemon bench to a 3 Pokemon bench, what we want to do is try and wreck their bench entirely. We want to try and leave them with as few bench Pokemon as possible, and that's where Glimmora EX comes in. Now, Glimmora EX isn't a phenomenal Pokemon, and I'm not pretending it is. But it's got the ability Dust Field, whereby as long as it's active, your opponent cannot have more than 3 bench Pokemon. And here's the thing, it doesn't actually matter what your opponent does on their turn. Because on your turn, you put Glimmora active, they go down to 3, they do get the choice here. They decide which ones get discarded, but then you switch Glimmora for Sylveon, use this attack, and they go down, we're only using 2 stage 1s here, and they go down to 1 bench Pokemon remaining. And I'm just saying, having a situation where you can engineer it so that your opponent is only allowed a single bench Pokemon, I think that might be fun. I can see a situation in which that's kind of nice. Now, as for the rest of Glimmora EX, it's not a phenomenal card, and I'm not pretending it is. The attack does 140 plus poison, but the point here is you're getting rid of all of their attackers. That's the thing that Sylveon allows you to do. You get rid of their attackers. Glimmora restricts their options, but they're going to keep their attackers and their main support Pokemon. If they've got 1 attacker, 1 Bibarel, and 1 pointless Pokemon out, you get rid of their attacker and their Bibarel. If they've got 2 attackers and 1 Bibarel, that's where it gets very, very interesting, and that's going to depend on how the game's going. If you think they've got a decent hand, then you just get rid of both their attackers. But if they've got 2 attackers, a Bibarel, and a terrible hand, you get rid of 1 attacker and a Bibarel, and then hopefully they can't do anything with that 1 attacker because you've really lost them the game at that point. That is where Sylveon comes in handy. Yes, the Pokemon only go back to the deck, so they can be replayed. Although remember, if your opponent's used, for instance, Rare Candy to get a Stage 2 out, they can replay the Pokemon, but they don't get the Rare Candy back, so this is particularly good against Stage 2 decks. If you put a Pidgeot and a Charizard back when your opponent's used all 4 of their Rare Candy, I think it's fair to assume that they are going to really struggle to establish much of a board position afterwards. For reference, those decks generally play like 1 Charmeleon for Charizard, but no Pidgeotto for Pidgeot. So, if you can get them out of Rare Candy, and good players are going to try and save them, obviously, but if you can get them out of Rare Candy and then take out their only Pidgeot and one of their only Charizard or their only Charizard, you can base at the end of the game right there, because even though the Pokemon go back to the deck, they do lose the Rare Candy. This is where Sylveon comes in handy. I'm not telling you it's always going to work and always going to be perfect, but I'm telling you it's a fun option. Now, I know some of you at this point are going to go, Wassy, are you ignoring the attack cost? Nah, mate, not ignoring the attack cost, but it is very much like I've been telling you guys for the past couple of, well, really since these Stella Tera Pokemon were first revealed. We've got Crispin, and we've got the tool. And the tool is an A spec, but it reduces the cost of a Tera Pokemon's attack by 1 of any energy, and Crispin lets you search for 2 basic energy, 1 gets attached, and 1 goes into your hand. So use a tool, use Crispin to attach an energy, attach for turn, and you've definitely got the right energy because of Crispin, and you're off and rolling. So there's always options for this. And I don't know, maybe it's going to be a case where Sylveon and Glimmora together can just wreck your opponent's bench, and that's going to be hilarious. Maybe you can make that work. Or maybe it's instead going to be a situation where you can just let your opponent have a bench of 5, but there's a point in the game where you can go, hang on a second, and then just take out their main support and their only attacker, or both of their only attackers, and they have to take 2 turns off of the game, and then you win for instance. One turn to play down basics and then one turn to evolve. My point is, there are ways this could be good, and the fact that it evolves from Eevee, like all the other evolutions, means there is a real chance here that you are actually going to be able to tech this into some other random deck. And I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, I'm starting to feel kind of positive about this. That's what I think. And I'm giving it 4 War C's because, I don't know, maybe I'm getting overly excited about this. I think there's a good option. But I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. Oh, and get shout-outs on the channel like the lovely Stegaraptor, who I can confirm is a very lovely person who's helped us out with a bunch of stuff in the past and is awesome. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.